Right here.
People have been asking me
to be the best in the world.
Why, Eddie, why?
I'm better than you.
My eyes are red. I was in the back smoking a joint with Van Damme.
You know it.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I'm your boy Stevie Jobber.
And this is your boy Dangerous Duke. What the hell was that?
And we are doing, I don't know what you're talking about, and we're doing this special Dark Mac edition to celebrate the debut of the Wyatt Sick6.
Yeah, we're supposed to. Yeah, the Wyatt Sick6 showed up this past Monday on Raw after months and weeks upon weeks of cryptic QR codes and weird sayings and just odd things popping up everywhere, like literally everywhere.
Yeah, it's been crazy. It's been all over the internet. It's been up to now, even in Pat McAfee's studio. So I think the first place to start would be, did you feel like it built up enough and the hype paid off with the way that they debuted it in the last 5 minutes, closing out Raw?
Yeah, I mean, the build-up itself, this has been dragging on for months, and I don't even want to say we've been clamoring for this to happen because we knew it was going to happen. But I have no complaints with how they build it up and how they, pieced it together, because it got all of us involved. Everybody was being an armchair detective, tweeting, looking through their phones, trying to find any information on it, if you will, and they kept it very tight-lipped, which is rare with social media and everything that's going on nowadays. So the fact that they kept this so they told you enough and didn't spoil what it was, in a sense, which is rare to do. And I like everything that they did about it. I mean, we're going to talk about how the debut happened later, but leading up to where we're at now, I like how they did it, and I think it was actually very, very good.
Yeah, I think they planted just enough hints for us to feel like we knew something, but not give it all away.
Yeah.
We could kind of figure out what characters they might correlate to, and we obviously figured out who was in it, at least the 5 we knew of, and the possible 6 if there is, which we'll get to in a second. But they clearly had turned Nikki Cross into Abby the Witch.
Love that.
Rambling Rabbit ends up being Redbeard Eric Rowan. Huskus the Pig is now Joe Gacy, which I think that's I love the mask, and we'll talk about all the aesthetics too. And then of course there was also Mercy the Buzzard, who was Dexter Loomis, and finishing it off with Bray Wyatt after that crazy shot of Chad Gable looking like somebody executed him in the corner. I first just want to speak to the tremendous detail in the outfits. That was great. Abby the Witch, like I said, Huskus the Pig, Mercy the Buzzard, everybody looked fantastic. It even looked from an angle when I rewatched it, like Rambling Rabbit almost had faces on both sides, which I maybe we'll see again one night. But upon replay, it kind of looks like there's a different type of rabbit in the back and then a crazy looking rabbit in the front.
So a lot of people were discussing that, and they brought it to the attention. And I tend to believe this story because if this story is true, then that's just, perfect attention to detail by all parts. But there is supposed to be a second face on the back, and that's supposed to be the mask from when Rowan and Luke Harper were the Bludgeon Brothers. So the back of Rambling Rabbit is the mask from the Bludgeon Brothers, as like an added homage to Luke Harper too,
along with the mallet. That's lovely. That's awesome. I do hope that's true. Of course, we'll see more Monday. Hope maybe even Friday. We don't know how far this thing spans, but it'll definitely be cool. Maybe possibly every time we see them, just to see the new little details we can catch that we didn't see before. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, the Bray Wyatt glove. Um, when they showed Uncle Howdy in the last shot, you can kind of see it upon replay, but the one glove the one hand he's twirling as he walks has Bray in his old fiend style
Oh
glove
yeah,
written instead of pain or what is it, pain or heal,
hurt and
hurt,
heal.
hurt and heal. Instead of hurt and heal, it's just Bray on the one glove. So I'm sure we'll find just a little more tidbits of that. Um, but yeah, I think the whole thing was crazy. What did you think of the literal massacre in the back that they pan to kind of reveal everybody?
So that whole introduction to their massacre, that was whoever was in charge of that whole segment. I don't know if it was Hunter. I don't know if it was a producer, if it was Bo, whoever. The fact that they were able to get that was a cinematic masterpiece. That was like that is like old school horror movie camera filming right there. The fact that you got that whole massacre, some faces you could kind of see, some you really couldn't see. Then the one with Chad Gable that you could absolutely see. And then still managing to get all the characters that were a part of the massacre all in one shot, one camera.
Mhm.
That was amazing. It
Yeah,
felt like it felt like you were walking through a haunted house.
that's perfect. Yeah, it was very the. It definitely felt like you were walking through a haunted house. I definitely love all the new camera work they keep bringing every single week, and it was. I wonder when they must have started it. I imagine it had to have been like right as Jay and them were coming out, like after everyone was making their entrances. I'd
Mm-hmm.
immediately start ripping the place apart. But yeah, just cinematically, it was amazing to see all the different shots, starting from the door, leading to the back, leading back out front with all the whole ensemble in that one big shot. It felt very horror movie, very like Blumhouse horror, like slasher film. It was great. It was great. Uh, I liked everyone's costumes. I liked everyone's gear. I liked everyone's masks. Do you think there's a six?
So for me personally, I there could be, there very much could be. However, with everything, I think the five of them are good. First, for only being one, there for one day. I think the five are fine. We can call them the six. We know what number six could be.
Mhm.
We know number six might be the spirit of Bray Wyatt. So I would say if that's the case, I'm fine with that. We can just say the spirit of Bray is number six. And then you never know when matches come along, when they start competing in matches, when they start doing some crazy stuff,
Mhm.
you can do some spiritual things in the match where it's like, somebody's interfering, but it's not really the interference. It's kind of just the spirit of Bray helping the Wyatt Six.
That's freaky. Yeah, I can see that.
And it could be kind of like supernatural in a sense, like even more supernatural than Ministry of Darkness, more supernatural than what Judgment Day was supposed to be in the beginning,
Absolutely.
because that's like the route they were heading on the supernatural cult leader thing. I have no problems with the five. The five are cool. And then, the spirit of Bray being number six, or maybe you do have a number six somewhere and you want to bring them in, i.e. an Alexa Bliss or whoever. As long as it makes sense and doesn't disservice what the main goal of this faction is, then okay, but I'm fine with them being five.
I like the idea of the sixth member being Bray.
Mm-hmm.
and him just not being there. I dig that. There definitely is room for a 6. They have enough for at least one more uh, female superstar. So I could see Alexa Bliss joining, but I think it's much more poetic for it to be Bray Spirit. And I
Mm-hmm.
think they could run with that in a couple different ways. That being said, I do think they could do something with Alexa Bliss in the future. Talk to me about some fantasy bookings that might have already crossed your mind, if any.
Well, first and foremost, I mean, obviously, like you just said, if they do something with Alexa in the future, Alexa and Abby the Witch are like the perfect 1-2 to do, because person who's Abby the Witch is already have experience with Alexa Bliss.
Mm-hmm.
Alexa Bliss already has experience with Bray. So you got that right there that you can caveat. And then let's see, we already know who these people are. We know Dexter Loomis is what, Mercy the Buzzard.
Mm-hmm.
You can do something where Mercy takes out either Theory or Gargano, and then that brings Ciampa in the mix at some point. Ciampa can go after Mercy the Buzzard. I'm trying to think, who else do we have in there? We have Joe Gacy's another. Joe Gacy really hasn't beefed with anybody on the main roster, so
I have one for you though, because they also drafted Dijak. They haven't used Dijak yet, but they drafted Dijak, and that was the last person he had a real thing with.
yeah, okay.
So they could kind of debut together almost as a feud.
Yeah, and then Dijak can get taken out. And then not even that, Howdy and you could do something with Howdy and Jay because of the Firefly angle. Like they can have the
Absolutely.
Fireflies back, At first he was like, I'll take the honor for Bray, and then he's like, no, they can have him back.
Mm-hmm.
And then you still got something with Gable down the line because they took him out.
Absolutely. I still think you got something with Gable. I don't even know. It's hard to see what direction they go in now. I mean, Gable is clearly the first victim. Pat McAfee's studio got attacked, but the pathway isn't really clear. They could just kind of be out for everyone right now. So it's a lot of different ways it could go. I like your thinking with everyone kind of getting individual revenge
Mm-hmm.
and kind of being vindicated as first arcs.
Yeah.
I think they could go months on that and just make amazing matchups where you don't even really have to have Uncle Howdy be the
No,
centerpiece for a
yeah,
while. You can just kind
he's
of
just the orchestrator.
he can just orchestrate the violence for everyone else to kind of pursue their evil plot, so to speak. I had an idea of Braun being kind of the big
Yeah.
last step for Uncle Howdy personally.
Mm-hmm.
I could see it being a situation where, because they're on the same show, and Braun's whole thing right now is that he doesn't like bullies, but this being a different monster, I imagine it in like a Undertaker and Kane scenario where they take out enough people that they cross paths. And when you think this is the moment Braun is going to step in, he backs down. And after a couple weeks, he goes, they're interviewing, why don't you step in? And he's like, these are, they're my past. They're like my blood. They're like a family I left behind. What am I supposed to do? I'm not going to fight them until it comes to a point where he has to step in and step up to Uncle Howdy, and they could take that whole thing to Mania and
Mm-hmm.
have Braun be that, like, have just a big spectacle for Bray. You know what I mean? Of
Yeah.
just two guys, his brother and somebody he considered a brother, just putting on one big match at Mania for him. I think that'd be a really dope angle to play long term. I did have this question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What if would it be a disservice or would it be a testament to Bray's initial creativity if Bo's Wyatt 6 ends up having a better run than the Wyatt family?
I don't.
Where are you at on that?
I honestly don't think it'll be a disservice because the way you look at it now is they're like the extended version of the Wyatt family in a sense. Like the original Wyatt family only had 4 with the spirit of Sister Abigail. And now it's kind of like when Bray didn't have the family, he created the family again in a form of puppets. You know, which are Mercy, like so, and then now with Bray not here, in a sense, like I want to word this the right way without messing it up. When Bray's family died, quote unquote, in the sense he recreated them in the sense of the puppets. Now that Bray has passed, the family has come to life. The puppets are now alive, and they're through the spirit of Bray. So I think it would kind of just be, in a sense, all tied into the same universe, if you will. It's still the Wyatt family. It's just the Wyatt Six. So
Yeah,
I don't see it as like a disservice. I think if anything, it would be better.
It sounds like a reincarnation almost.
Yes, that's
like
that's the word.
And it's a great way that you said it. It's like a reincarnation. And something that you said that didn't really occur to me now until now is that when Bray had the Wyatt family, you're right, they were kind of led by the spirit of Abigail at first, of Sister Abigail. And then, he became the whole Eater world dynamic, and they kind of got a little away from it, but it was led by the spirit of Sister Abigail, and it was him and his family. So it is kind of poetic justice that now that Bray's gone, his puppets left of the family he has left behind have come to life and are now led by the spirit of Bray Wyatt. So that's a brilliant way to picture it. It's definitely a crazy reincarnation, and I think if it just came to me because I thought about how hard it was for Vince to book Bray Wyatt, right? And I think about Triple H's era and how much better the booking and the long-term storytelling is and the opportunities. And I wonder if, because Bo's not exactly Bray and Triple H certainly isn't Vince, that maybe they'll be able to give a little more justice to these stories and a little more heat and wins under the family's belt to really have a moment for them rather than being caught up in a huge build and a great story you made yourself that may not always pay off.
Hey, you know what?
I mean?
I kind of just thought of something. I don't know how you can book this way, but I think there's essentially 4 people, like excluding Uncle Howdy, the 4 characters that are there. If you were to do like a crazy kind of like cinematic match or a War Games match or something like that, there's 4 people that are on the same show that are on Raw that you could pull it off with, and it would make kind of sense. Like it would kind of make good sense. So you got the 4 characters for Bray. You have Mercy, Abby, Huskus, and
Uncle Howdy.
No, without Uncle Howdy. It's Mercy,
Ramblin'
Rabbit. There you go. So those are your 4. Braun, former member of the Wyatt family, right? Jay with the Fireflies, that thing. Seth feuded with Bray a lot. Seth and Bray feuded a lot, with the Wyatt family and the Shield and everything else.
Iconic.
3 faces. Alexa Bliss. That's the woman that goes after Abby the Witch. I mean, you can kind of work it out. And even if you want to throw Uncle Howdy in the mix and get Uncle Howdy involved in a match, they take out Johnny Gargano, who's got ties to Loomis. Then Tommaso Ciampa tries to get in. They take him out. Johnny comes. Like you can work it.
I can give you an even. This is why we eventually should just retire as bookers. I can give you even one to add on to that. They could do that and then lead to Mania by having Uncle Howdy get involved at the end. They can probably have that be the lead off to where like I'll fight everybody else and then have him stand in front of Uncle Howdy and cause them to lose that way. That way they can still win and get over, but there'll be that little thing at the end, you know what I mean? And there'll be that build up. Like eventually Braun's got to fight him. But that's all the questions that I came out of it. Just, is there a 6? What matches do you see that could be made? Because part of the fun is fantasy booking. Yeah. And then, just that random thought of what if Bo's incarnation is better and what that does for the legacy. But I think you're right. I think in the end, it just makes it stronger.
I think if we can, we could probably cut it on this and you would probably agree with me, or maybe you have some disagreements. I can, without question, say this has been the greatest faction debut probably of all time, maybe since the Nexus.
That is a big
of this many people, and to make this big of an impact as quick as it has. I think the build and the execution has probably been the greatest we've ever seen.
Yeah, all they got to do now, because I think you're right. When Nexus happened, it was very sudden.
Yeah.
And I think the difference for this is it's essentially vignettes done in the most creative unorthodox, creative way possible. They took their time. They established who was in it without telling you who was in it. Nothing was for sure until the night of, really. Even up to a point when they were going to debut. I think you're right. This is different from a lot of the other factions forming because it wasn't sudden. It was a build up and it had such a cinematic intro. Nobody else really gets that. Nobody else gets that cinematic like debut.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, even with like you exclude Nexus, the next big one was what? Retribution. You kind of knew like one or two people in Retribution. Like you knew it was Mustafa Ali leading. You knew Mia Yim was there. You didn't really know for sure who the others were.
Yeah.
But with this group, it's like who's in it. And they've even acknowledged that they're in it now. Like if you look on their Instagrams, they're posting the pictures of them in them outfits. And it's still like surreal. It's like, damn, they're in it. Like we knew you were going to be in it, but you're actually in it. Like, okay.
Yeah, and I'll end it with this. I think some of the excitement is that you're just kind of happy for these people to get that opportunity. On the it's great to see as a fan, but on like the behind the scenes fan part of me is just happy that Gacy and Dexter and Nikki all get a legitimate ending of the show role in a high profile faction to be showcased in, because much like all of the clues leading up to this, these are all people that had a lot of potential that were just kind of left on the cutting room floor with nothing to do. Yeah. And literally like in a Bray Wyatt fashion, like that's part of his thing, is just taking people that maybe the world does not consider useful anymore, even himself, even the different iterations of himself,
and giving them a purpose.
So this is right in vein with Bray Wyatt, and it's an organic feeling of happiness because it is like something Bray would do. So it is cool to see all of these people get that kind of an opportunity. But I think I've said all I want to say. Duke, is there anything left to say about the Wyatt Six that you wanna get out there before we cut this off?
Don't take your eyes off them, because they're making magic before your very eyes, and don't blink because you're gonna miss it.
Yeah, we've been calling it the let 'em cook era, and I really don't know what's next. So we got to sit back and watch, and just, nothing's for sure.
Yeah, nothing's for sure in this life except for death, taxes, and the Wyatt6 stirring up some chaos. So you definitely want to keep your eyes on them.
With that being said, man, this has been The Dark Match. I've been Stevie Jobber.
I've been Dangerous Duke.
And we will catch you guys on the next one.
Yes, sir.
People have been asking me,
To be the best in the world.
why, Eddie, why?